It's Sunday, November 20th. This is our last lecture of the semester, so thanks for being such a great class. We have enjoyed getting to know you.
Hopefully you guys have learned a lot, very applied skill sets that you acquire in this class, which is super awesome. Should we do a shout out to the USC football team? Beaten up. So we're wearing our USC shirts. USC to me, USC. It's a surf club, but that's okay.
It was a very exciting game. And just to be fair, we should do a shout out to women's soccer, women's volleyball, men's water polo. I think we've beaten UCLA quite a few times recently.
That's very good.
Yay us.
Not that it matters. We used to actually work at UCLA. My allegiance was always with my paycheck. So way back when we were little junior people, we worked there for 5 years. And then we've been at SC. I've been at SC for 30 years. And you about 10.
Yes.
Yeah. And she went to USC Law School. So it's all good. Hey, Bobby Haskins, all right? And Malcolm Epps. Okay, these guys are both
gerontology people.
Gerontology people. They're in our master's program. They've taken a couple classes with us. And it was really cool to see both you guys starring yesterday. It's very cool. Anyways,
all right,
let's continue on.
So the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about different things you can do from a legal standpoint to, help manage the aging process and manage your health and manage your finances. And today we're talking about estate planning and long-term care. So towards the end of your life, and hopefully sooner than that, don't wait till it's too late. You might have enough assets that you want to think about who's going to inherit your stuff.
Did you put these reminders here?
Yeah, probably.
She did. All right. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Let's do the reminders. Okay. Your
midterm 2.
Yes, your midterm 2 is open until the last day of classes. So instead of closing on a weekend, which we did last time, it's closing on Friday, the last day of classes.
You got 2 weeks. Of course, I know a lot of you guys are going to wait till Friday the 2nd at 11 o'clock at night.
That's okay. That's okay. Life is complicated. We understand that. But anyway, we wanted to have the midterm open for 2 weeks because some people have a really bad last week of classes with a lot of stuff going on, and maybe they want to get this out of the way this week.
Right here.
So
perfect timing because you guys are going back to maybe some of you may be seeing some family members during Thanksgiving, and it's a great time to actually get to know your family members in a whole new way. It's kind of, I know the drill. For years, I'd go home, for Thanksgiving. I'd see Grandma. Hi, Grandma. How you doing? Okay. Bye, Grandma. And then off I'd go doing my own thing. So now you actually can interview them, and all of a sudden you're going to learn these things about your parents, your grandparents, your auntie, your uncle, whoever you interview. That it'll blow your mind. It's like you're going to come away saying, "God, I had no idea." So.
And we do appreciate the fact that your friends, neighbors, family members share their stories with us.
Absolutely.
And so thank you very much.
It's and you can archive it. All right, that's the beauty of this little device.
You can make a video, and you do we get that question every year. But if you want, that might be something.
I think I did it with my mom. My dad passed a pretty long time ago, so I didn't do it. You did it with your dad, and your dad's still alive, but we just have it archived so we can show our kids, we can show our grandkids. We'll probably be gone by the time they come around. So we're late in life parents.
Okay.
But anyways, it's great to archive all this stuff. Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about estate planning.
Alrighty.
So for the weekly reading, I wanted to give you 2 different perspectives. One's from the American Bar Association, so it's very lawyer oriented, and one's from AARP, so it's a little bit more practical, consumer oriented.
Which one are we starting with?
We're going to start with the ABA one. Right. Okay, because there's a lot of legal jargon and just terms that you need to kind of learn about wills and trust and estate planning. So the number one thing is what happens if you die without a will. If you die without a will, it's called dying intestate. And that means that you're allowing the government to decide who gets your property. That's never a good plan. I mean, okay, it works. It's fine, but it's not awesome.
It works out. It'll delay things, won't it?
Yes, it will delay things. And in some cases, it can cost a decent amount of money and time, and you have to hire an attorney. And so it can be kind of difficult. So if you die intestate, each state will have a law that's called, that governs intestate distribution. So it could be that in your state, if you die your spouse gets everything. Or it could be in your state that if you die, your spouse gets half and your children get half. Or it could be, any combination of spouse, parents, brother, siblings. And if you aren't married and don't have any children, it's usually your parents. If you aren't married, you don't have any children, and your parents have predeceased you, it might be your siblings, and then it might go down to cousins, aunts, and uncles, things like that.
So you can alter this default plan. For example, maybe your parents have that ugly uncle. And they're not supposed to be getting all the money. Maybe your grandparents have said, I'm cutting the ugly uncle out. Okay. All right. But if there's no will,
yeah, then basically the government decides who gets your stuff.
That's right. So that's not cool.
So anyway,
next,
it's a good thing to have a will, and think about, we've had a lot of famous people die without wills recently. Prince died without a will. He had 29 people claim against his estate. Everything from, Prince and I met in a bar and he agreed to give me, or he did give me, his entire music catalog, or I'm Prince's child that he never acknowledged. And a lot of people came forward and said, I am his long lost relative and I want to inherit under his estate, because there was a lot of money involved. Aretha Franklin didn't have a will, even though she was, older than Prince was. So it wasn't completely unexpected when she died, but she just didn't want to talk about it and didn't want to think about it. And so that happens.
I would bet things are still held up in the courts with
Probably,
Prince.
yeah. It can take a long time. I think they're still winding down Prince's estate. So there's been recent court rulings, but it has taken quite a long time. And you know what happens when you die intestate and you're Prince is the lawyers make a lot of money off of your estate. So it doesn't necessarily go to the people that you might have wanted to get your property.
And for a will, you can just download a simple will off the internet, right?
There are things, we'll talk about that. There are simple alternatives. In a perfect world, if you have the money and the time and the energy, you hire a lawyer, and you hire a lawyer who specializes in trusts and estates, and they will create a will for you. They might create a trust. They'll help you transfer your property into the trust. They'll help you do a power of attorney for financial and power of attorney for healthcare, and so they'll get all of your documents.
And she's going to explain the difference between wills and trusts and why one or the other.
Yeah.
Okay,
So a will is a simple way to pass your property. It names a beneficiary. It typically names an executor. So a beneficiary is the person who benefits from your property or gets your property. An executor is the person who handles the process of, getting your death certificates, transferring your property into other people's names, dealing with the court if that's necessary,
and making sure your wishes
making sure your wishes are followed. And so, even if you don't have any property, but you have minor children, it's a good idea to have a will to name a guardian for your minor children. And I would, as always, I like to have layers of protection.
Do you remember that ugly uncle I was talking about?
So you might have someone that you name as a guardian of your minor child, someone who's really good with kids and gets along with your kids and knows your kids, but you probably want to have a second choice in case something happens with that first choice and they're not able to act. And you might have a different person named as the executor of your estate. Maybe you have a different friend or relative who's really good with financial things and filing paperwork and being detail oriented. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the same person. You can separate the guardianship of your children from the handling of your estate.
But you got to update it. Things change. The person that you thought you could trust, you can't trust. People die, so you have to update it. You have to
periodically, I'd say every 5 years, or when you move, when you change your marital status, things like that. Florida even allows you to leave money to your dog, which is kind of cool. Of course, your dog may not live that much longer than you, so you probably want to have a secondary beneficiary in case your dog predeceases you. So what does a will not do? A will can't pass property that passes outside of your estate. So if you have accounts like your 401k account that has a beneficiary on it, or your bank account, your checking account has what we call a payable on death beneficiary on it, those things pass automatically when you die. All you have to do is present a death certificate, and this is a good reason to go through those accounts and make sure that you've named beneficiaries. So that the second you die, that life insurance, that 401k, most bank accounts, any kind of payable on death accounts, even real estate, if you're holding it as joint tenants with the right of survivorship, will pass upon your death. So it doesn't have to go through probate. And so that is an easy way to pass most of your assets.
And joint tenants is fancy word that we share it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
yes.
we basically share all of our assets, and that way, if somebody passes, it automatically goes to the person that survived.
That survives. Yeah. Yeah. So you might want a will with a trust. And what a trust allows you to do is it allows you to avoid probate. So you transfer all of your property into a trust. And this is very common in California because in California, it's expensive to go to court. The courts are really busy, so it delays things. And so you want to speed up the process. So, for example, when John's mom passed away, she had her house in a trust and she had named in the trust that his brother would inherit the house. So it was a very simple process. We went to talk to a trust and estates attorney. He prepared the paperwork to transfer the title of the house into John's brother's name. Boom, boom, boom. It happened really fast. So it was very easy. It was a lot easier than having to go through probate.
And that was one of the things we discussed a lot as a family way in advance. We all were in agreement that this was happening. We live in a beautiful home. My older brother, who was a sheriff, has a nice home. The middle brother lived with my mom, and he did 20 years of caregiving, and he absolutely earned it.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
so
absolutely.
so there was no argument. He and my mom were great together. He launched very late in life, so he would have been homeless if we said, "Oh, let's divvy up those assets." And I didn't need that money, so it was the right thing to do.
I always say he's my third son, even though he's 10 years older than I am. But so we're happy.
Got caught up in the 70s a little.
But anyway, he's doing good now. He's doing really good.
The 70s kind of went all the way to about 2000.
Yeah, kind of. So anyway, so you might have a trust, and then you would still have a will, and we call the will a pour-over will because it kind of scrapes up all of the things that didn't get moved into the trust, so that when you pass, everything can go through the trust, and you don't have to go through probate.
So you're mentioning that having the trust is great because you avoid probate. Why? That's more legalese. Why do I care about probate? Why is probate so bad?
Honestly, if you're dead, you don't care. But it makes things a lot easier for the people who are inheriting your property. It will make
because probate slows it down, and
probate's slower. It's more expensive. You have to hire a lawyer, and so basically by creating a trust, you pay a little bit of money up front to create a trust, and then you avoid having to pay that money with probate down the road. Now, it's not always the case that you need probate. My mom lived in Louisiana, and when she passed, the process of probate was very, very simple and fast and really easy. And so in her case, she didn't have a trust because her lawyer had told her it's not really necessary here, given her estate and what she wanted to do. Okay. So when you create a will, you need to make sure that you're following the legal requirements in whatever jurisdiction you're in. So you can go down a little bit more. I think we already talked about this. You're going to use either a notary. You're going to use a notary to verify your signature. You might have witnesses. Usually 2 witnesses. At least one of those witnesses should not be a beneficiary so that they're considered very neutral and don't have any conflict. Yes.
Did we do all this? I'm just make sure we're good. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to name an executor.
There we go.
You would have an executor. You would have a backup executor and maybe even a third backup executor. So in our case, I think the executor is our oldest son, our youngest son, and then maybe John's brother would be third.
So you're putting a lot of trust in them to do the right thing.
Yeah, and so we had to redo our wills and sign an amendment to our wills recently because my mom had passed away and John's brother's getting older, and we wanted
our kids are 27 and
they're old enough to handle it now. We trust them.
Yeah.
So anyway, so it's
22.
important to think about taxes too in terms of how you want to pass your property. This is just like a minor issue, but if you have title in your home as joint tenant with right of survivorship, then that will affect the amount of taxes they owe if they sell after you die. So there's tax issues. So think about the taxes. Get tax advice from an expert. So when you create a trust, you are the grantor. That's the legal term. You grant the property to the trust.
Am I going down too quickly here?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
And the people that are getting the property when you die are the beneficiaries.
There we go.
And so, and even in the trust, you might have created a trust. So there's grantor and settler right there. You might have a trust that gives guardianship of your kids to one person and control of your property or your finances to a second person. So you could have multiple decision makers. I usually, if I'm going to have multiple people involved that are jointly handling the same issue, I want to have an odd number so that they can vote. They don't get a tie vote, and then you have to go to court to resolve it because that would defeat the purpose of having a trust.
Money always
Money causes problems.
Problems.
So anyway, you also, for example, my aunt and uncle set up a trust that's called like a spendthrift trust because their only daughter, she's doing really well now, but she was dating a guy who was kind of sketchy, and so they had put they had created an estate plan that would release money to her at certain intervals. So this much when you're 25, this much when you're 30, this much when you're 35, so that all the money wouldn't get spent in one fell swoop. So just to protect her. In terms of annuities, go down. I think we have a little section on annuities. Yes. So in terms of annuities and your retirement benefits, make sure that the beneficiary forms are filled out. So if you have a Roth IRA, an IRA, a 401k, for me, I have a small pension from one of my prior employers. So I selected a pension benefit that continues if I die before John does, and his family lives in well into their 90s. So I kind of chuckled when I did that.
So this is great Thanksgiving talk. Say, hey, Dad, did you put me in as a beneficiary of your IRAs? Did you? How about the annuities?
There you go. I will say this. My mom was super organized when she passed away, and it was a gift and his mom was also very organized when she passed away. So it was really a gift that they had everything laid out. And during the pandemic, I created a notebook for my kids that shows all of our accounts, and these are copies of the beneficiary forms, just so that our kids know, these are all the places. Unfortunately, you know how life is complicated. I have a couple different 401k plans
and just things like passwords and stuff too.
So that they can go get the stuff. Okay.
Awesome.
And with the annuities or pensions, like I said, you can choose to have a survivor benefit quite often. And in my case, it was like a $25 or $50 a month difference for me to take it so that it would end when I died and I got a higher amount, or for $25 or $50 less, John could get it when I died. And then I was laughing because he'll live like 20 years longer than me, probably.
I hope not.
But because his family lives forever.
already been looking at like urns and stuff like that.
I like to be prepared.
No, it's because of her lymphoma. So I think the lymphoma is an arm wrestle. Okay. Right.
When you get older, these things are not as dark as it may seem. Some of us just like to be prepared. I'm a planner.
I guess I can use that money that you've given me in your pension to go on surf trips.
Yes, that would make me very happy. Okay, so AARP has a document which I think is really cool, and they say stop stalling on getting a will and estate plan together. And a lot of people do stall because they're like, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't know a good lawyer,
just do it.
I don't know how to do it. So they give you alternatives in this article. They talk about why do people not have it done. 30% of people 65 and older don't have estate planning done. Now, during the pandemic, we should have all gotten our butts in gear because people were, of all different ages, were dropping like flies. And for a lot of us, it's important to not leave a burden on our families. 40% of people 50 to 64 don't have a will or an estate plan. So again, people put things off. They don't want to think about death.
The second you have assets, you got to have one. I mean, when you guys, if you're 40 or 30 and, you go crazy and you come up with a huge app, you're a TikTok star making billions.
You're an influencer.
Somebody's got to get the money. So
yeah. So anyway, AARP gives you some free or low cost options. You just need to make sure that whatever you do, it works in your state. No, go down. That's something else.
Okay, sorry.
Go down. A will for every budget.
There we go.
Some free options. You can go online and create wills. There's some low cost things where, Quicken Will Maker, Gentrio, Trust and Will,
There we go.
So there are things that pop up that are free, which is really great. If you move to a different state, you probably need to update your will and your trust because the new state laws might be a little bit different. And just be careful, just like with the durable power of attorney for financial, you want to pick someone that you trust with money. You want to pick someone that is reliable, that can carry this task through and complete it. So you don't want someone who's, financially insecure or not honest or not reliable to take on that job of being the executor.
Look, joint wills are a terrible idea.
Yeah, joint wills aren't great. As a lawyer, I don't like them because who do I represent? I need to be representing each client with the utmost duty of loyalty and to represent them to my best ability. And sometimes you might have a husband and wife that come in to get their wills drafted, and the wife gets up to go to the restroom, and then the husband says, oh, by the way, I have a child that she doesn't know about, and I need to, we can tell her when she's in the room that we're going to do these, joint wills. But as soon as she leaves, I need to do a separate will that will actually leave money to my child. So it can create kind of weird situations. But okay, let's talk about long-term care.
All right. So there's a really good document. Read it. Okay, let's get out of here. Okay, now we're going down to the discussion. It's a big issue. We've talked to you guys about the economics of aging and how many older people are dealing with financial instability right now. Mm-hmm. And so this is a big deal.
Yeah. And so when we talk about long-term care, we're talking about needing help towards the end of your life as your ability to do things on your own declines. You might need help with what we call activities of daily living, or ADLs. And so those are things like eating, dressing, bathing, going to the toilet, transferring from your bed to your chair, moving around, things like that. So as people get older, especially in their 80s, or if they have poor health, those are things that they might need. Now, you might get long-term care services. You might need skilled nursing. So you might be in a facility, a long-term care facility or nursing home. But you might also get these in the community. So you might be able to go to an adult daycare. You might get these in your home, either through home health or home care.
It all depends on your
It depends on your insurance. It depends on do you have long-term care insurance? Sometimes these services would be paid for by Medicare or Medicaid. And so there's some different options. It might be something you have to pay out of pocket.
Lots of hurdles and firewalls. You got to be prepared for on this one.
And so who generally ends up needing long-term care? Obviously, as you get older, the chance that you're going to need help with these activities of daily living will go up. Women tend to need help more than men because they outlive their spouses.
See, you're wrong.
Women live longer. Don't ask me why. It's hormones or something.
No,
there's a lot of reasons.
Men don't go see doctors until it's too late and have heart attacks and die.
Okay. So women tend to be left the surviving spouse, and they're living alone, and they might need help.
Women are better. That's why.
Single people are more likely to need care from a paid provider.
And we showed you, those graphs before about again, I hate to say it, but rich people get better things, right? So when you're a married couple, your assets are far greater and people do far better. Okay, and it is what it is. When you're single, you don't have that.
If you have poor health, if you have multiple disabilities, if you've got, one of the many common things that can happen, cancer, kidney disease, heart disease, mobility issues,
Alzheimer's,
blindness, deafness, dementia, all of these things can increase your need to get some help. Okay, and so it can be home-based. You might be in kind of an in-between place, like an assisted living place. So an assisted living is almost like a college dorm where you might have your own room, or you might share your room with a roommate. And then downstairs, there's a cafeteria where you go and you have your meals. They have events to keep you busy, activities that keep you entertained, and so it's a little bit of a social place.
And you get what you pay for, sadly. So the more money you have, the better the facilities, the better the services are. There are really some sad cases out there too for people that are poor. So
home health is generally paid for by Medicare or Medicaid. It's when you need skilled services, skilled nursing, skilled physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, social work services. And so you've had an illness, maybe you've been hospitalized. Most often you've been hospitalized or in a nursing home, you return home and you need some help. So that's generally paid by Medicare. And you could have, for
How about
example,
washing your clothes and
they're
going
they're
groceries?
typically not
No.
going to do those incidental services.
Right.
If you are getting skilled nursing services, skilled nurses, skilled physical therapy, occupational therapy, you do qualify for a home aide, a home health aide, who will help you get dressed, help you shower, help you get ready for your therapy.
But you can still see
Um,
there's things that need to get done that you're going to have
yeah.
money for.
Now, what we found is that the reality is, with the job market being the way it is right now, for example, my dad's been getting home health services since May. His home health agency did not have a home health aide. So we were not able to get those additional services,
And
even though Medicare covers
super
them.
important services, but they pay minimum wage
Yeah.
oftentimes,
And
you
so
know, so people
people
don't do it.
said, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
The other option is what we call home care or personal care services. So a lot of people don't understand. Home health is a Medicare certified agency where the people have been background checked and they have to be eligible to be paid under Medicare. They're trained, they're licensed, they're certified. Home care or personal care is someone who's going to come and help you with your medication, help you with your meals, maybe do some housework, wash your clothes. They might help you bathe. They might, just sit with you. Where my dad lives, they have these people that you get through church that are, a lot of times they're older women, and they're called sitters. They get paid to sit with old people that need companionship and they need help. And so those people, typically, they're not Medicare paid or Medicare certified. They may not be background checked. It depends on the agency and how you hire the person. So you need to be a little more careful with hiring home care or personal care services.
And that's an example of what you were talking about. We're religiosity, having a connection with that type of community. People help out. The people next door. Remember, the people from the church came by when they were really bad. They were coming by all the time. They came by more than their family members did.
Yeah, absolutely. So
So
they had a great community. So you might need help with transportation to get to the doctor. And so that's something that if you get this personal care service, you might get that. If you live in assisted living, typically they will provide senior transportation to go shopping, to go to medical appointments, to go to activities and things like that. They might take you to the casino on the weekend to go gamble or something like that. A lot of people, my stepdad, for example, lives alone in Florida. He has an emergency medical alert system. So we have technology that can help, where you can wear something around your neck or a wristband that if you fall,
you just push a button.
you can push a button and it'll notify a contact person. I think he has his set up so that his sister who lives close by would be notified, or it might automatically call 911.
Yeah.
And so you have this technology.
There's sensor technology now that
Yeah.
is beyond pushing a button.
Yeah, so this type of wearable tech is really helpful with people who have dementia. There's wearable tech that has GPS on it, and it's kind of, for example, you probably don't even need to go buy it at a special place. You could probably have a person with dementia wear an Apple Watch and then use Find My Apple Watch or Find My iPhone or whatever to find grandma who's wandered out of the house because the front door was left unlocked. And so there's a lot of good tech out there that can help us monitor people if they're living alone or just don't have people with them 24/7. So for long-term care, there's a lot of different reasons why you might need it. You might have a sudden decline. Maybe you've fallen, you've broken a hip, and now you need to go to a rehab facility before you can return home. You might have, and maybe that's a temporary illness or a temporary setback. But for a lot of people, it is a slow, gradual decline until they die. And so, for my dad, he's 85, he has COPD, he has bladder cancer, he has metastatic lung cancer, he has heart failure. And it's amazing how well he's doing. It sounds worse. It is bad. Okay. It doesn't sound worse than it is. It's terrible. But he still gets up every day and he's super happy and he's having a good quality of life because he's getting good support from home health and from family. And, and we're working on his long-term care insurance.
Now,
if you don't have long-term
care insurance, it's out of pocket, right?
It's out of pocket.
The
Yeah.
Medicare is not going to cover this, my friend.
Yeah.
So, and I had a friend that was talking to out surfing, and his dad had to go into a cognitive care facility, and they wanted $12,000 a month.
Yes, so it can be very, very expensive.
out of pocket.
And so that's why I think right now with the silver tsunami that we're expecting in the U.S. and in other countries, every country around the world, whether it's China or India or the U.S. or Italy, we're all trying to figure out how are we going to care for these older people? How are we going to enable them to stay home as long as possible? So we want to help people age in place by creating resources in the community. We want to help people age in place by making sure that our communities are age friendly, to make sure that people's homes can be modified. So we did some work on our house right before the pandemic hit, and we put grab bars in the showers.
Everywhere.
John had knee surgery a few years before that, and I think he said, when I had my knee surgery, I felt so vulnerable.
It was
when I was
it
in
was
the
a total
shower.
knee replacement.
Yeah, it was bad knee surgery. It was pretty bad.
Still, it works
It
great
works
too.
great. However, it was kind of a wake-up call for
Yeah.
us to say, hey, we need to really make sure our house is safe
And you
for
get the right
us.
kind, they look kind of cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not as ugly
Eat
as it sounds.
and to age in place, what are you gonna do? You can exercise, you're gonna eat well, don't smoke, okay, all these environmental influences. Limit your alcohol intake, okay, all this to remain healthy.
Yes.
So how long a walk did we walk today?
4 miles.
4 miles. Do we do that every day?
Yes, we
We
do.
do. In the hills. You know what I did before that? I surfed for 2 hours. So there you go. That's how
Yeah.
you do it.
We have a lot of hills in our neighborhood, so the workout I get walking in my neighborhood is completely different from the workout I get walking around USC
Yes.
because it's flat. So,
Anyways.
but anyway,
Okay. All right.
okay,
That's
so
good.
that's good. Let's go to the Genworth website and kind of plug in some numbers.
All
And
right.
this is
This is
the
right here.
cost of
So this
long-term
is
care.
the URL for this PDF file. So you can go either one to read up on it. This is just a fun exercise. Again, address the prompt with respect to this, long-term care. Ask your parents, do they have long-term care insurance? How do they want to handle it? Do they want to live in place? Are you going to be the caregiver? These are lots of questions. All right, so
Okay, so this
there's
is
some plugins here.
this is a cool website called Genworth where you can plug in a zip code or a city and look at the monthly or annual cost for different services. So we're going to do,
Laguna Niguel.
yeah,
All right.
and the closest one
Was
says
Laguna Beach.
basically
All right.
LA.
So it shows you where it is. Okay, we did monthly, and then you scroll down here, and it tells you how much it's going to cost. So based on 2021 costs of living, we see that we're looking at about $6,000 a month here for these kind of services,
Yeah.
potentially out of pocket.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for
Okay.
nursing home, it's quite a bit more. Now,
You
most
see over
people
here.
in nursing homes do not have private rooms because it's just cost prohibitive.
Right.
But we're starting to get close to $10,000, $9,000 to
$10,000.
$10,000 a month for a nursing home every month.
And for the majority of people, out of pocket.
Yeah.
So these are all things you got to think
For
about.
assisted living, the dollar amount it lists is $5,250, but keep in mind with assisted living, you have your roof over your head, you've got your 3 meals a day, anything else that you need, help with medication, help with bathing, help with dressing, help with laundry, help with house cleaning, that's all going to be extra charges that are added on.
So this is a company, so they want you to go and check out their many sources of information. But what we're going to do is we're going to compare our costs again. Put this, let's just call this $12,000 a month. We're going to call this $6,000 a month. Now we're going to go to
where my dad lives. So 70461.
70461. That's Slidell, Louisiana. Okay. All right. So there it is right there. Okay. Right where Hurricane Katrina went nuts. Okay. And you see here, so it's about $2,000 less. And take out that.
Nursing homes are quite a bit less. So a semi-private room is about half as much, a little bit more than half as much as it would be out here in LA.
Out here in Laguna Niguel is about 12,000. Here looking at 6,000.
Assisted living is below 4,000.
Yeah.
And so the cost of labor is less in more rural areas. It's less in Texas, it's less in Louisiana, and it's more in places like LA. Hawaii is very expensive. Alaska, I think, is very expensive. So depending, that's why a lot of people, as they get older, they start thinking about where am I going to retire? Well, I might retire in a place like I mean, I wouldn't, but some people might retire in a place like Texas or Louisiana and say, okay, it's going to be a lot less expensive for me to live there and less expensive for long-term care when I need it.
So you wrap your head around all the information. That's what this class has all been about. You know, it's like dinner every night where we lay out the vegetables and the fruit, and hopefully the kids will eat it. And so that's what we do with you guys. We give you all this information. I hope you consume it. And then right here, this is the prompt. You know, so talking about the type of care you and your loved ones would like to receive. Okay, you got this is serious conversation you can start having with your parents and grandparents. Okay, and you start looking at COVID and nursing homes and the vulnerability. Does that change your way of thinking? How about going on a cruise? The other day we were looking at the news, and in Australia there was a cruise that had 900 people, and I think it docked in Melbourne, and 600 were positive for COVID. So here we go again.
That didn't work out very well.
No. All right.
All righty. Well, thank you guys for everything.
Absolutely.
You've been great. As always, we are here for you. And we have a lot of people that will come back a year or two later and need a letter of recommendation for grad school or a reference for a job, and we're happy to do that. So, we're here to support you.
And tell your friends, this is a great class. I think this class should be necessary to graduate from USC. It should actually be necessary to graduate from high school. It's like we've seen that a lot in the discussions, how just the thing of financial literacy, how important it is. Don't forget, get your midterm done, okay? Do not forget your final interview paper. This is your opportunity, okay? If you know the drill, I'm not going to go through it, but you click on that, it's going to take you into it. It has the rubric. Follow the rubric. There are a list of questions that you could ask. It doesn't have to be those questions. You can make it more personal. And then we during the pandemic we also had this extra credit right here, okay? And so I don't know if we're going to keep doing that, offering extra credit, but we do this semester. So
the extra credit gives you 3 points extra on your grade. So at the end of the semester,
3 percentage points.
Yeah. So if you have an 87% in the class, it would take you up to a 90%. So it'll boost you up to the next grade cutoff. Yeah. And some people write. I've had people record songs. I've had people write poetry. I've had people put together collages of pictures. Some people do videos, and you can send me the link to the video. Sometimes it's hard to upload the video to Blackboard, but whatever your forte sparks your interest, and cool. We enjoy getting to know you a little better.
All right, cool. Well, it's been fun. Peace, fight on. Hopefully we will go to the national championship game. Got to beat Notre Dame first, and then probably Oregon. That is the goal. Okay. All right, guys. We will see you then. Peace and take care.